when you try to conquer cybersecurity as a challenge, right? And I think a lot of people understand that it is a Micah and I, before you came here, we were talking and he showed me this meme and it was like 4 beds and the CEO bed, the CEO was rolling over. What was the other one? The CFO?
CFO, CEO, and I think the CMO.
All right. Yeah. And all 3 were like in bed and, either rolling over or sound asleep. But then the CISO bed didn't have the CISO in it.
Yes. That's and when you're a CISO, you get on a first name basis with the FBI and the CIA, and you're not just
It's different.
It's different. You can expect to get a call from the FBI first thing and told one night that the next day they're going to show up, and that you need to have somebody who can read logs available to help them. Especially, higher education has as many hackers on the inside as they do on the outside.
Right.
So, lots of really interesting.
So you hear from a lot of executives and companies, we did that tabletop with TAG in November. And even though it was an active cyber defense and it was very government, the company, the table that you were on, was very reluctant to talk to law enforcement initially.
Right.
You've actually done it in real life.
Right.
What tip would you give people who are reluctant to maybe call in for law enforcement? What would you tell them that, is a common misconception?
I think that you always want to make sure you go through your legal counsel, so that legal counsel is providing you with what you need to know, and you want to limit how many people talk to law enforcement. Usually just one person, because they could be deposed to go to court, and not everybody's good at that. So you want to have at least one of your security folks that's really good at that knows what to say and what maybe they should refrain from saying, because it gets very complicated very quickly.
Did you find, obviously I think government and law enforcement kind of go hand in hand. When something happens, typically government doesn't have a choice, but the FBI typically is involved, and Secret Service is almost always involved.
Right.
But in academia and business, that's different.
In academia, you especially for copyright violations, you want to protect the student, because a lot of times they don't have a clue that they're not supposed to be downloading movies illegally and things like that. But on the other side, on the research side and on the staff side, you have to be really careful not to include who needs to be included, because you could be doing research in select agents, or you could be doing some research in the medical field where maybe you've solved cancer, and now you have students from other countries that come in as teaching assistants or working for that take it back with them
and steal the IP. And
yes.
Yeah, I've actually read a very interesting paper last week that spoke of a teaching assistant that went to a university here in the States on specific actual research in cybersecurity, and then took the findings back to their home country and never came back.
I'm sure that happens on a pretty regular basis.
It's almost like in security, when you look at academia, and academia drives a lot of the security research and medical research, and people forget that universities play an integral part for a lot of organizations in doing cheaper research that helps develop the next big drug or the next big program that is the next big breakthrough for all kinds of things. I think sometimes that's overlooked.
And working in the university, that's my favorite part. I absolutely love the research part, and I would work with the researchers and help them with making sure they had business continuity plans and disaster recovery plans, and that their data was secure, and that they were saving their data so that somebody else's research could use their data. That was the biggest gap, I'd say, that we had. And in cancer research, the government finally came out and said that they own the data. And so we put in place, and I was lucky enough to get to be on a committee that defined the security framework for the National Cancer Institute.
The CyberHub Engage podcast is sponsored by CyberHub Academy. CyberHub Academy are cyber business operation experts, helping any size business operationalize cybersecurity within their organization, whether it be tabletop exercises, security assessments, or building a cybersecurity strategy. For more, go to cyberhubacademy.com.